wanted to wanted to poke you on one last thing that I read
Sure,
in an interview, and um, this one's translated from German by Google, so you'll have to forgive me if this is not
sure.
exactly what you said.
Oh
Um,
gosh, yeah.
but it's it's in der Standard, um, and it
Stunning.
says you were talking about the differences between American and European society, and you said, yes, faith is still very important in our country. It gives meaning to people's lives. I was also raised religiously, but it just wasn't for me. Religion doesn't help me with the big questions of humanity, after death, suffering, and love. I wonder if being a scientist does help you with those questions or help you think about them in some way. I mean, as an embryologist, you have some unique sense of what it
Yeah,
means to be an organism and how we come to be. Does
no,
that help?
yeah, I think it is clear I that being a scientist and seeing things from a scientific perspective has sh shaped most of my ethical views and in complicated ways because there's certain parts where you can't you or at least I'm very conscious of saying how does one justify ethic or how or if you take and I think I take basically a utilitarian sense of a consequentialist view of evaluating activity rather than but I know that how I think about an embryo or how I think about embryonic stem cells is heavily influenced by my understanding of genetics and what happens in an embryo.
Right.
And so knowing things in science puts if you don't know things, you make up stories, and those stories can get in the way of a deeper understanding and a more fair evaluation of the reality. It's interesting. I was raised religious. I went to mass every day through most of my undergraduate years. Um, this was in the 60s, and it was, you could have mass with guitars. It was the whole kind of underground mass religious experience. And I, uh, and I didn't know any other way of being moral other than through my religious training and religious beliefs. And then some things happened, and they had, they mostly these young person and their issues that you know had to do with sex and sexuality and all those things that I realized that it didn't really match who I was and what I wanted to be, and that I couldn't be who I really was
Mm.
unless I left the church. And it was about that same time that I was, transiting from being just a regular bottle washer in a fly lab to actually being allowed to do experiments. And so I've sometimes thought, and people have asked me, well, did science replace religion? Did you leave, you gave up this big thing in your life, which was religion,
Right.
and did you, did science take that place? And I basically feel no. I think I left religion, but in a certain sense, science gave me a richness that I was able to, that you could, for a lot of people, if they didn't have, when they leave religion, there's a huge hole in their lives.
Right.
And for me, there was just more to do.
Mm.
And there was never any sense that I needed um, yeah, no, so I don't feel at all. I think I left religion. Science didn't become my religion or anything like that. But in retrospect, I think it is true that I benefited from the richness of science to continue, you know, continue my life, and that then, and also to understand those issues like death. What do you think about death? It's pretty awful, but you know, how do you? And I don't think. I mean, what is true is that I don't find any answer other than one that's based on the science satisfying, intellectually satisfying, or emotionally satisfying. I'm kind of warped now into being this scientist. And